So you're listening to Magic Classical with me, Tim Smith. Good morning. And as I've already mentioned, we're celebrating Independent Bookshop this week on the programme. And we're doing that by talking to a different independent bookseller every day. Now, it's a great chance to discover some wonderful bookshops around the UK and also the people who keep them thriving. So instead of a listener in residence, as I'm sure you're already now well aware, we are bringing you a bookseller in residence. And today we've got not one but two booksellers here to tell us about their bookshop and pick some favourite classical music for us. So introduce yourselves, please. Who are you? Where are you? And what's the name of your bookshop?
Hello, we're Richard and David, and we're from Teasle and Skylark Bookshop in Dorchester, Dorset.
Richard, paint us a picture of the bookshop. What sort of atmosphere have you created there?
We've tried to create a relaxed, inclusive and accessible environment to encourage browsing. We like people to spend a long time browsing to find the perfect book for them. We specialise in nature writing and sort of all topics outdoors. We think Dorchester is a great place for that. It's a gateway to the Jurassic Coast, and people like to go off and explore the countryside and the coast. So we have a lot of books catering for that. I mean, we've both personally benefited from being outside and, you know, the positive benefits of being out in nature. So we really believe strongly in the power of nature, and we like to sell the books about that so other people can benefit.
Absolutely.
And David, tell us a bit about how you've been celebrating Independent Bookshop Week this year.
Last night we had Faith Eckersall, who is a local author. She was launching her second book with us. She writes a fantastic series of cosy crime. They're sort of a little bit tongue-in-cheek. They're set in a fictional Dorset town called Pidlington Minster, which is a great name. And then tonight we have got our ever so slightly great big bookish quiz night. And this is going to be in aid of one of our local charities, Mid Dorset Mencap. And we're going to be at the King's Arms Hotel, which is one of our partners. And we'll be having 10 rounds of some fiendish, some easy, some amusing quiz questions for our fantastic audience, and having a raffle for Mencap. So we're really looking forward to that.
So if listeners want more information about the shop, or they'd like to look at what events you've got coming up, where do they need to go to, and what's your website?
Our website is teasleandskylark.com, or they can find us on social media. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook, and the handle is Teasle and Skylark.
Excellent. Now we'll get to your chosen piece of music in just a moment, but before we do, David, you're a bit of a musician and composer yourself, I know. Just tell us a bit about that.
Well, I am. I mean, I started learning the piano when I was at the tender age of 7. I've always enjoyed both playing the piano, but also in later years composing for piano as well. And I've written quite a few things. And having opened a bookshop, it seemed appropriate to write a piece of music called Teasle and Skylark. And I'm also in discussion with the local secondary school, hoping that they're going to actually record it as an orchestral version. I've had it orchestrated, and hopefully they're going to be recording it for me as a full orchestra piece. So that's quite exciting.
Absolutely. Well, do keep us posted. And once you have the orchestral recording, make sure you send it over. And who knows, we might be playing it one day.
Yes, that would be fantastic, yeah.
Now, we did ask you to choose a piece of music. This isn't one of your own compositions, David, so tell us what you've gone for and what's the story behind it.
It's The Lark Ascending by Vaughan Williams, based on the poem by George Meredith of the same name. And it really just, as a piece, sums up everything that the shop stands for. I mean, obviously, it's, you know, we've got Skylark in the name, but it's just the quintessential English piece of pastoral music, which just evokes such a wonderful image of the English countryside, really. And that is really what the shop stands for.
Well, it's always a pleasure for me to play this piece. So for Richard, David, and everyone at Teasle and Skylark in Dorchester, here is the music of Vaughan Williams. This is The Lark Ascending. Now, if you were listening about 10 minutes ago, you'll have heard me talking to David from Teasel and Skylark. David was one of our independent booksellers in residence this week. He mentioned that he'd written a piece of music named after his bookshop, and we said, well, let us know when it's ready, and we'll try and play it one day on the programme. Well, that one day has in fact arrived rather sooner than expected. This is David's own composition, named after his bookshop. This is Teasel and Skylark. He hopes to record it with an orchestra in the future, but here's the original piano version right now on Magic Classical. But I think I can say with some degree of certainty, you've probably not heard that before, certainly not on the radio anyway. That is just great. Composed by David Tomlinson, who was one of our booksellers in residence earlier this morning. That is a piece of music named after his bookshop. That is Teasel and Skylark, and that was David performing on the piano.